What's going on, everyone? It's Biles, and welcome back to another episode of the Weekend Report. The first of the bye rounds is done and dusted. We've got still two more to go, but the first one was pretty average for myself, and then a few people did score quite well. So we'll get stuck in all the 6 games and everything that happened for the first bye round. But if you are, as usual, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're close to 450. I think we're at 442. So we're only 8 away. So if you are one, can be in one of those 8 people that get us to 450, that'd be very much appreciated. And also leave a like on the video if you're enjoying the content. So this round, pretty average from mine. I got 1774, so I dropped about 90 spots down to 8,861. So I was hoping to move up in the ranking this week. Evening, Jason Beck. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I was hoping that I'd move up, but we dropped a little bit. But yeah, so anyway, so the +3 I'll give to this week. Who would I give it to? I'm going to go Darcy Cameron because he got 133 points, and I paid 5. What did I pay? When did I grab him? I grabbed him after. It was after 112. I think I got him against the Bulldogs, and he was priced at 538, and he's now at 694. His high score for the season by a bit, 133. He's 694 now. He's going to be probably 740 by next week, somewhere around there. So he's going to be getting very expensive. It's going to be very, very handy moving him on. Probably his buy, but the way he's performing, you don't have to move him. But if you do move him on his buy, he's going to be an expensive price that we can move him on to someone quite expensive. So other notable mentions, I'd probably say Max Gawn, 149 was absolutely massive. I would have gone him, but I just thought the Cameron, I paid cheap for him. 133 is pretty good, whereas you expect Gawn to sort of go big every now and again like that. Jack McRae was good to see him go over 120 again. He's obviously been lacking those 125 plus scores. Obviously got 124. His high score 130, but that's what he's 1, 2, 3, 4 score over 120. His fifth score over 119. So he's been okay this year. Not obviously the standard that he's been in the past, but he's averaging 107, and the highest person on average is averaging 116.4, which is Andrew Brayshaw. So it's actually not too far away anyway. Now, what's McRae in terms of midfielders? So he's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's the 8th highest averaging midfielder. So he's not doing as bad as what some of us have said. And then the other I'll mention as well, Tom Mitchell, 112. He only went to what I think 38% CBAs, but we'll get into him when we talk about the Hawthorn Colony game. But in terms of negative threes, there's pretty much only one I would be giving it to, and that would have to be Bailey Smith. So I knew he was going to come back off his illness. He was not going to play his 90+% game time. I knew that. I was just hoping for a 90, 95 plus score. What did he do? Not only did he get a 63, and he played, obviously, game time he played only 83%. So that's pretty much the least of the season besides round 1, quite clearly. So but the fact that he's also now suspended for 2 weeks for headbutting Zach Tui. So, yeah, I as soon as I saw that, I'm like, he's gone for 2 weeks. So I did see that Shannon Barron asked for, do we have to trade Bailey Smith? Yes, I think we do. It's a must trade. He's now going to be out for 3 weeks because obviously he's got his bye this week. Then his 2-week suspension will kick off starting from round 14 and round 15. So he won't be back to round 16. So it's a must trade. He's going to have a high break even as well. So might as well move him on. So he's unfortunately going to have to be a forced trade for me and for many other people as well. So in terms of other people that performed poorly, Sam Butler and Booker Cummins only got a 38 and a 34 respectively. But again, I didn't expect as much from those two. And probably only other guys, maybe a guy like Christian Petrarca only got an 89. Was expecting a little bit more from that. But yeah, there you go. I had a lot of rookies as well playing this week. So I did expect to move down 90 spots because on my bench, I've got Hewitt, Whitfield, Cripps, Taranto, Bruce, Canelio, and Butters. So I've only got Owens and Durden as the only 2 rookies on bye, and then Sam Hayes. So I should be set up well to attack these next 2 weeks, especially with round 13. I think a few people might struggle. So I'm hoping to get that edge up this week. I'll have a few premiums coming back from their bye this week. I've still got a few premiums that haven't had their bye yet, and I won't have it until round 14. So hopefully I can make up some ground this week. So I think some people are going to struggle to get 18, especially with Bailey Smith with suspension, but obviously he's going to be out anyway. But yeah, so plenty happening there. So what have we got here? So Shannon Barron says a horrible score of 17-11. I dropped 600 spots to 1388 overall. Well, yeah, you're doing a lot better than me. So yeah, I've had a bad year yet again. I just cannot see what I finished. What was it? Top 600 3 years ago. Not the COVID year, the one before that. So 2019. Yes. So 2019, I finished top sort of 600, and then since then it's just been hasn't been as great. I've been copping bullets left, right, and center. So um, yeah, Moon Boy 1870 this week, plus 3 Dusty Cameron. Yeah, 100%. He's been amazing. Cuz Judd 1851. That's a very, very good score. And Moon Boy as well, 1870 is a very good score as well. Shannon Page, the wheels have officially fallen off. Hope you're doing better. Yeah, well, Shannon, I'm not really doing too much better. I probably got just under par. I think par was about 1800 this week. So if you got over 1800, I think you did pretty well for the first buy round. But I sort of look at the buy rounds as if I'm moving up or down in ranking in terms of the 3 weeks. So I see these 3 weeks as 1 week because you got obviously the buys. So I know I only moved down 90 spots this week, but I'm hoping that I make that ground up in rounds 13 and 14. So we'll just see what happens with that. Anyway, Jason Beck struggled to 1878. Struggled to 1878. I love that. I'd love that life. I was struggling to nearly 1900 because, yeah, I sort of fell quite off the pace this week. Turkish 110 plus 3 for my Laird debut. Yep, very well played with that. I wish I grabbed him over English. Cameron, McRae, Took, Dacos, and Mitchell as well. Actually, yeah, Nick Dacos gets a shout as well. Got 109 when a few people did move off him. So he obviously performed very, very well. End up with 1891, which is a little bit meh. Well, it's not a little bit meh, though, Turkish, because a lot of people did actually score under 1800. And yeah, over anything over 800 was good. And if you got near 1900, I think that's a good score. So I think you did pretty well to get to that score as well, because a lot of people did struggle. Moon Boy, I'm holding Cameron until Grundy comes back. I think he's a top 6 forward / potential top 3, right? Yeah, 100%. But with the injury news, I think that Grundy's not too far away. So he's actually still 4 to 6 weeks. So when they have the bye, it's probably going to be 2 or 3 weeks after the bye. So you're probably right. Probably hold him for a couple of weeks after the bye. So yep, you're right there. Cuz Judd -3 to Spud Tracker again. Yeah, every premium I bring in, I think the only player that I've brought in this year in terms of premium that scored back-to-back hundreds is Tom Mitchell, and that was back-to-back 112s. Like you look at Dawson, he got 100, then I think he got like an 80. Again, he's a defender, so he's not necessarily expecting 120 from every week. Bailey Smith got a 92, then back-to-back bare 100, like literally exactly 100. Petrarca got 115, then an 80, a 50, 40, and then 89. Tom Mitchell, so back-to-back 112, which is great. Obviously, Heaney got those 4 bad weeks in a row. Speaking, I got 95, first week under 100, typical for me, bringing him in. Darcy Cameron and Tom Mitchell have been clearly the 2 best guys I brought in. Even Taranto as well, bring him in. Hasn't scored over 100 since I brought him in. But yeah, so there you go. That's just the tale of my year. Shannon Barron, +3, Captain Brayshaw. Yep, very nicely done. -3 for Haitley for not scoring in the last quarter. Yeah. And I thought he was on track for 100, and then he, yeah, as you said, didn't score any points in the last quarter. Jason Beck, bring McCluggage and Sarong in. I'm not sure about McCluggage. I probably wouldn't say so. I know he got a 118 today, but he's very up and down, bit of a roller coaster. So I probably would find better options. But hey, if it works for your buys, then you can always do that, I guess. And Sarong, he scored well today, but again, he goes 100, then 60, 100, 160. So I probably wouldn't worry about him either. Northern, so you're holding Bruce, depending on if he's named or not. If he's named, I'll probably hold. If he's not named, actually, because I've got Sam Hayes, Gawn, and Bruce. If Hayes on my bench, who I'm going to emergency loophole, if he gets like a 100 or something or a big score, then I'll trade Bruce. If he scores average and Bruce is named, obviously I think I'll keep Bruce. Ash Hutchinson, 2,000 this week. Wow, that's a big score. Very, very big score. I don't know what the high score would have been this round, but you certainly would have been up there. Round 12. What are we looking at? I don't actually, it doesn't say here what the high score for Renders. But yeah, not seeing a lot of 2000s, like especially the people at the top. There's one 2000, there's another one. So yeah, anything over 2000 is brilliant. That's a very, very good week. +3 for Cameron, -3 for Dunkley as well for Ash there. Obviously, yep, Dunkley not as good. He could have been another guy that I could have said there as well. James English, 1936, 14th up to 11th. Well done, James. I know that you've tuned in before, and but yeah, that's very, very good. 11th. Yep, there you go. And what are you? You're 20, 25, 977. So you're only 313 points off first. So that's pretty good, especially with the buys. So you're certainly within touching distance, that's for sure. Moon Boy, how big does Josh Kelly go against North next week? Yeah, I think he'll be going pretty big, to be honest, Moon Boy. And then, yep, there we go. So let's get stuck into these games. So we only got the 6th game to preview. So as well, as I say all the time, if you do have any questions or anything like that, put them in the live chat. I will get to them once I've got through these 6 games. There won't be as many, so I'll be able to answer your questions pretty soon, soonish as well. And yeah, we'll get through those as well. So first game, Bulldogs and Geelong, Western Bulldogs and Geelong on Friday night. So Jack McRae top scored in the game with 124. As I said, that's obviously very, very nice for him to sort of bounce back in a way because he hasn't been his normal high-scoring self. But obviously good to see him get 8 tackles, 5 marks, which that's been the thing that he's been struggling with the last few weeks. So not getting enough marks and tackles. He's still getting 30 touches essentially a week. But yeah, good to see him over 120 again. Tom Liberatore, 115, very solid score. Probably more good for draft as well. Mitch Duncan, 115 as well. He obviously performed very well. So is he potential option off his buy? He's underpriced in the forward line. Could be someone you can consider off his buy. Cam Guthrie, 98. He was over 100 before the point adjustments. That would have sucked, obviously, if you own him and it would have gone under 100. Caleb Daniel, 98. If you've got him, he was solid. Tim English, 95. Obviously, I brought him in this week over Lairds. That cost me nearly 30 points. So obviously that sucks. But hey, at least I've now got the top 2 rucks in English and Gawn, and then I don't have to worry about my rucks. Unless I bring Grundy in, I'm going to flick English forwards. That's fine. But yeah, would have been nice to have gotten. That's why I was surprised that everyone was going for English over Laird with the poll on the other night. So I will probably try and think of a poll to do later on. So just if anyone's got any ideas for any polls I could do, we can put that in the poll as well. Be English solid. 95 still solid enough, especially as a forward. Anyway, so what have we got here? Marcus Bonampelli, 89. That's okay. You probably would expect if you brought him in last week, 80 and 89. We expect a little bit more, but he'll be top 6 forwards. So that's fine. Josh Dunkley, only 84. He only went to 8 CBAs as well. So yeah, not too great from Dunks. A lot of people had him obviously VC, myself included. If I'd followed my gut at the start of the week and went Laird VC into Tomic, I would have had Laird captain. So, oh well, we live and we learn. And plus as well, I thought English would have fit better for my buys as well. I know they had the buy in the same week, but I had rucks to cover English. So, what else have we got here? Adam Trelawney, 77. So, unfortunately, with Trelawney, that's been a little bit of what he's been like. He's been obviously good the last 4 or 5 weeks, but he's gone sort of a few hundreds. He has these 70s and low 80s in him. So he'll still be around the top 6 forwards, but it is what you're going to get with Treloar. You're probably going to get 1 or twice out of 6 weeks. He's probably going to get you under 90. So, but he'll be fine. Blitzarv's only the 67. Obviously, with Stanley coming back in, he had to obviously share the role. So if you did have him and you held on to him, I'd look at moving him on this week. So it looks like Stanley's back in the team, and that'll be that. So I'd look to move him on. Bailey Smith, as I said before, must trade. He's out now for 3 weeks. I don't know how low he's going to drop. If he would have gotten like an 80 or a 90, it would have been great. Could have swapped him for someone a bit more expensive. But with him probably going down like 40K, he's probably going to be 860. Even a move to a guy like a Sam Doherty off his buy, which I'm looking at doing at this stage, that's not going to actually net me any cash, which I was hoping would net me at least like 20, 30, 40K maybe. But, oh, well, that's what happens to fantasy, I guess. Sam de Koning, 54, that's solid enough. So for me and probably a lot of others, he's probably gone this week, but he's certainly contributed very, very well this year. Obviously, he was slow burning at the start. Obviously, missed the second game through concussion and then came back, and he's been pretty solid for us, especially over these last 5 weeks. Consistently scoring over 50. Him, Paddy McCartan have been good last 5 weeks. Robbie McComb, 50. I didn't expect a whole lot more than that. I expected about a 50. So again, he's probably going to be a guy that a lot of us move on for, because we've got potentially 3 or 4 rookies coming off their bye this week. Obviously, if they're named, we're just going to have to keep an eye on if they're named or not. Tom Stewart, that was the sad part from Friday night. So if you did have him, he was on fire. He was on 44 points. Essentially, was he on 44 points at quarter time? I think he was. I think he didn't score anything in the second quarter. I think, yeah, 44 points at quarter time. He was on fire, looking like another 120, and whereas now, unfortunately, got a 44. You're not going to trade him because he's not going to miss any games because of concussion. He's only going to miss this week. So it's just going to suck. He's now going to drop in price, even though it was very expensive. So obviously for non-owners like myself, it'd be good. It'd be a bit more affordable. So there you go. Buku Kama's only 34. I didn't expect too much more than that from him, but he looked okay playing second ruck. Let's see if he holds his spot after his bye. I don't know if he will, but let's see. And then Cooper Stevens only 21, which was disgusting, which is quite poor. So if you had him and Karmas and Tom Stewart off the first game, that would have pretty much set the tone, unfortunately, for the rest of the bye round. Adelaide and West Coast, the second game. So the first game on the Saturday, Rory Laird, 122. I said it on Fridays, one of the most consistent players, if not the most consistent player in the AFL. 33 disposals, 9 tackles, kicked a goal, 122 points. He's cherry right to pick off his bye. He would have only gone up about a K, so he's only going to be about 922K off his bye. I think you can bring him in, especially with Adelaide's insane run. I wouldn't be surprised if he's one of either the top or top sort of 2 scorers for the rest of the year. That'd be my pick because he's got such an easy run. So I could see plenty more of those 120s coming. Luke Shuey, Jack Redden, Andrew Gaffel scoring hundreds. Again, I just don't trust any of these guys to be consistent scorers moving forward. So Redden 116, Shuey 112, and Gaff 107. Again, yeah, I just don't trust any moving forward. But Gaff laid 4 tackles. So there you go. John Dawson 93. That was pretty good. He had a quiet first quarter. Had a sort of a quietish first half, but again, he scored 56 points after half time. So again, he just knows how to get to his 90s, very much like a Tom Stewart. And especially with Adelaide's run coming home, he'll be even better than that. So, yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to bringing him in your team off his bye, as well with his conditions not being very favourable for defenders. He still took 9 marks. So they still want to get the ball in his hands. And he played behind the ball in defence this week, which is good. They didn't keep moving him around. Ben Keys, 84. So, again, only 2 marks, 3 tackles. He's still got his 29 touches, which Ben Keys hasn't been trouble for Ben Keys touching the ball. So if you look at his disposal tally through this sort of his lean patch where he hasn't scored over 110. So he's gone 33 disposals, 27 disposals, 29 disposals, 27, 27, 29, and 29. So he's not failing to get the ball. He's just not tackling or marking a lot. So I just don't know exactly what's going on. Break even was 122. He's going to be near 800K. So he's going to be really cheap. So I do think he's still underpriced. I think he'll score a lot better in this easy run for the Crows. But yeah, just something to sort of keep an eye on there. Jackson only got 83, but as who said that before? Shannon Barron said 0 points last quarter, but 83, you're not too unhappy with that anyway, because he's still going to go up a decent amount in price. And with Adelaide's nice run, yeah, he should be good. And as well, he only went to 1 centre bounce as well. So to get to an 83 was pretty good. Matt Crouch, 78, bit of a stock standard game for Matt Crouch. His 27 touches, only the 3 marks, 2 tackles. Greg Clark, 71. He was good. Laid 10 tackles, only 11 touches. But again, he's going to be a good candidate to move on this week. Yeah, I'll certainly be doing that, I think, if I can do all the moves I want to do anyway. Alex Withens, 73. It's okay, not too great from him. Riley O'Brien, only 74, so he backed up. He had 40 hits, which is great, but only the 9 disposals, so that was 19 less than what he got last week. So unfortunately, that's just Riley O'Brien. I think he's just going to be a bit up, and he's just going to be very up and down. So if you've got him, enjoy the ride, I guess, because he's going to be a bit of a roller coaster. Tim Kelly, only 70, just shows you just cannot trust him at all. Just very inconsistent. Sam Berry, 68. If you had him, it's good that he got there. No marks, 8 tackles as well. So decent enough. Jake Saligo got 61. So he looked good yet again, just from a Crows supporter standpoint. So he will hold his spot for the foreseeable future. And if you've got him, he'll be playing around 14, so he'll be fine. Wayne Miller only 61. So if you were looking at him as a cheap guy off his bye, I just don't think he's going to be a high enough scorer for us. Patrick Parnell got a 56. That was solid. So again, I was happy to not bring him in this week because I'll hopefully bring him in around 14 if he holds this spot. That's what I'm planning on doing. Again, he looked good. He looked promising. So 56 was solid, especially when he went off. He got those 56 points in essentially 3.5 quarters. So he might have gotten to a 60, maybe near a 70 if he played the whole game. Brady Hoff, 55. He went missing for a large portion of the game, but 55 is okay. He'll make some more money. And especially because I thought he's going to be a red dot, that 55 was quite helpful this week. And yeah, Isaiah Winter only got 27, so I hope none of you brought him in. And Patrick Notion only got 6, and he was a medi sub. So again, he's fallen right off. So what's he priced at now? I remember I got rid of him at like 597. He's now 498, break even of 118. He got 6, so he's like near 400. Give me near 400 again. So yeah, it's funny how he's just been sub and he was near 600k and he'd been great for me. And then it was the perfect time to get rid of him, I think, when I got rid of him. So Gold Coast to North Melbourne. So Toot Miller, very, very good score for him, 135. And a few people winning captain as well, which is good. He looked a lot better. I watched this game and he looked a lot better than what he has in the last few weeks. He covered the ground really well. So again, he's another underpriced option that you can consider off his buy. He's going to be under 900k. So he's a guy to look at. Matt Rouse. So for those people that got rid of him this week, I feel sorry for you because he'd been crap for you all essentially for most of the year. He got the 30 a couple of weeks ago, lowest score having like 8 tackles or whatever. Then he had 25 disposed. He had 20 kicks to only 5 handles, which that's not knowing what he does. And he had 11 tackles to get a 107. He kicked the goal. So he looked a lot better. Can we see that? We're not going to see that, I don't think, consistently, but hopefully in the future, that'll be more what he can do, and he'll be a premium option, hopefully, in the years to come for us. Luke Davis Jr. bounced back from his 70 last week with 103, so if you had him as a point of difference, that wasn't a bad score. Noah Anderson, 96. He's been that sort of 96, 97, 98 sort of guy, so you could look to move him on this week to a premium coming off their bye. There's plenty of options, which I'll discuss those options coming off their bye once we go through these games. Josh Simpkin, 88. That's sort of what he's done all year. Taron Thomas, 76. So he's just not getting it done. Jed Anderson, only 74. So yeah, unfortunately, just didn't follow what he did last week. So if he brought him in, the worst, it's not that bad because 74 is not awful, but it's a sort of, if he gets another 70, you just move him on when it comes to his round 14 buy, and you bring in a guy that's coming off their buy, like a Bont or something like that. It's only going to cost you maybe 90k to get there. So it's not too bad. Lockie Weller as well, 77. Looks like he's done his ACL. That looked bad. So best wishes to him with his recovery. What else we got here? Jared Witt's only 67. So I'm glad that I know that I held Bruce and I to take Hayes' score, but I'm glad I didn't bring in Witts because he's now gone 84, 67 in back-to-back weeks. So obviously the correct decision when you were moving on Bruce was bringing in Tim English. Obviously it was just risky because him coming off the illness and that hamstring injury, but it was definitely the right call. Or Darcy Cameron because he's just been insane. Jason on front's got a 63. That could have been quite handy if you had him. He had a bit of, it looked like a toe or a foot injury or an ankle injury or something. So just keep an eye on that if you've got him, whether he's available this week or not. Joel Jeffrey, 62. That was solid if you brought him in. That was a decent score. Again, only kicked the 1 goal for the 60. So that's promising. Tristan Sherry got to 50. If you've still got him, I would hope at this point you didn't. But if you still got him 50, you just move him on, I think, now. And that's it from that game. So we'll move swiftly on to the final 3 games. So Melbourne and Sydney, the Saturday night game. Max Gawn, 149, top scored. So what a game from Big Maxi. 28 disposals, 9 marks, 30 hitouts, 3 goals won, and 149 points. So he was amazing. He was just everywhere. And yeah, he's just in the number 1 ruck. Simple as that. Callum Mills, 126. So I just love watching Callum Mills play. I don't own him. It pains me every time he does this because what I said at the start of the year, I thought he was going to be my pick to average over 115 this year, and he's sort of just under that at the moment. So it looks like he could be on track to do that, but 10 tackles, 7 marks, 26 disposals. He fills the stat sheet up every single week. It's ridiculous how many tackles and marks he gets every week. As I said, I can't say it enough again. I love watching him play. He's now playing really high game time now. He's now back to being fully fit, 88% game time. So he is, if I can afford him off his bye, I don't think I can because I'm bringing in Laird over him because Laird's run. But Mills is the second guy that I want in my team ASAP. So if you've got him, enjoy continuing to watch him play. He's on the bye this week, obviously, but that'll do in the world of good as well. So he hasn't looked injured or anything, but I'm just saying that will do, especially from a guy that had the Achilles thing in pre-season in the last year. Just having a week's break means that he won't overwork it. So he'll be great off his bye. Angus Brayshaw, 102. If you've got him, you'd be happy with that. Clayton Oliver, 102. Especially considering he was very, very, very quiet in the first half. Only 32 points, came home, 70 points the second half. Be very, very happy with that. Christian Salem, 94. So he's a guy just to watch off his bye. He did slow quite considerably after half time, but his break-in was 162. A 90, he's going to be under 700K. Just a guy to keep an eye on. He's very, very cheap. Jake Lloyd, 90, sort of just doing his thing. 90 was okay. You'd take that. Christian Petrarca, 89, bit underwhelming. He was on 53 at half time, so only 46 points the second half. Yeah, he just hasn't been great the last 2 weeks. Hopefully, he bounces back. He's got a good match against Collingwood this week, so he should be good again. Isaac Heaney, so that's no surprise. His highest score in 5 weeks. I owned him for 4 weeks. All scores under 80, and he gets his first score over 80 since, what was it, like round 7 or something. So I'm not too fussed about him. I like Heaney as a player. He just doesn't get the role. Again, he was playing deep forward, which was a bit better than this sort of in the middle role where he wasn't quite playing midfield, he wasn't playing as a target. He was sort of, the ball was getting kicked over his head. So at least he was deep forward, took some marks. They could have been 100 if he kicked straight, but yeah, it's just frustrating that he just doesn't get played in the midfield role that we would like to see him. Luke Parker, only 85, a bit quiet with only 17 touches, but obviously the 9 tackles does help him get to a solid enough score. So he'll obviously have his bye this week, but he'll be around the mix of those top 6 forwards. But yeah, 85 was okay. You would have won a bit more, but that's okay. Paddy McCann, 68. So if you did hold him this week, that was another solid score. Not going to go up a lot, but you probably trade him out this week. But he's been a very, very valuable servant for a lot of us this year. So he's definitely done his job, and you can move him on this week. What else we got? And that's pretty much it from that game. There wasn't too many low scores in that game. So, yeah, that was pretty much it from that game in terms of fantasy perspective. So, the 2 games today, Hawthorn and Collingwood. This is a great game, by the way. For a low-scoring game, I really did enjoy watching this game. Darcy Cameron, 133. So, he just keeps doing everything. 26 disposals, 9 marks, 3 tackles, 19 hitouts, kicked a goal. And, yeah, if he had more tackles, this would have been even bigger. So, I was saying to people this week that I wouldn't have paid for him because I think he's too expensive now. But I did sort of say if that's all you can get to, then I guess you can bring him in. But he's been fantastic. Again, I know he scored great this week. I still think he's going to be too expensive. You cannot bring him in at he's going to be like 740. If we've got him though, you just ride him until Grundy comes back. I think you can sort of live past his bye with him. Because I thought Grundy was only going to be 2 to 4 weeks away, but it's actually 4 to 6. So he could be up to still a month and a half away. So yeah, Darcy Cameron is definitely a hold for still a while. Tom Mitchell, so 112. That was, again, his third score in a row over 110. So, over 112 actually. 32 disposals, 7 tackles. So again, when people are going to look at it, and again, I wouldn't look at him as a target this week anyway, because this is the week where you should just purely focus on looking for round 12 players. You shouldn't be bringing in any round 14 players, because if you've already got over 22, that's fine. You'll be fine for that week. But you should be looking all at round 12 players this week. But Tom Mitchell's a tug after his bye. So if you look at the CBA, so there was 23 for the game. 23. Tom Mitchell only went to 9. So in terms of percentage, that was only 39% of CBA. So when you look at that, that's not great, right? But watching the game, obviously I watched him very closely, obviously owning him. Every time he was, it was pretty much a 50-50 split, and he was on the bench for the other ones, right? So when he wasn't in the centre bounce, he would start forward, but he would pretty much play as a midfielder around the ground. So he's playing as an extra midfielder. So I'm not fussed with this centre bounce sort of thing. Like, look at Dunkley. Dunkley scores over 100 every week, and he's only getting anywhere from like 7 or 8 CBAs to like 16. So that's Tom Mitchell's role. He's getting hundreds. He's underpriced for what he's going to produce. I think he's still going to average 105, maybe 110 best case for the rest of the year. So he's underpriced based on what he'll do. Nick Dacos. So a lot of people, unfortunately, suffered what I suffered and many others suffered with Nick Martin last week. A lot of people traded Nick Martin last week. Came out 113, looked great, and people were like, well, why did I trade him out? Nick Dacos did exactly the same thing this week, 109. Looked great, 36 disposals. It says injured on there. I think he just got a bit of a knock in the back. He literally went off for like last 2 minutes. So I don't think it's anything to go by. He's walking around after the game. He looked fine. But 109, the good thing is he's going to actually go up a little bit price, and he's probably going to have a lowish break even again. He's probably going to have like a 60 break even. So he could even go back up to 600K, and then we can move him on at his buy, and that'll be fine. John Newcomb's just a fantastic player, 108. If you had him, bit of a points differential. I think he's been okay, but 108 was very good. Taylor Adams, 107. So he looked decent today. How much game time did he play, actually? So he played 84%. So he's back up over 85%, near 85%. So potentially a guy that's quite cheap, but I'd want to see more than just the one game before I look at him. Jack Crisp, 100, just continues to get it done, just consistent. I don't think he's not playing the essentially full-time mid-row, essentially splitting his time between, I think, half-back and in the midfield, but he's just getting it done. So it doesn't matter where he plays. He's just getting it done every week. Jordan to go 87. Again, looked good in the first half. Well, he looked good all game. He just didn't get that big score. So he could be a cheap guy you look at after his buy if you can't afford. If you're trying to get, like, if you can't get your last rookie off, especially with guys like Bailey Smith reported, if you can't get your last rookie off before round 14, a guy like DeGoey could be a guy that if you can only get like a McCartan or a Greg Clark or a DeConing who are on your field, if you can only, if they're your last rookie, if you only get them up to DeGoey, I don't hate that move. Sicily, 84, did his thing. He's just consistent. Again, the conditions didn't suit him to score a big score, but he'll be fine moving forward. He's got the good buy as well. So I'd be certainly holding him past his buy. He's a luxury trade for mine. Will Day was solid, got an 80, and I think a few people in draft have got him, and then also a few people got him maybe still floating in their classic team. I probably would have moved him on by now, but 80 is not a bad score. What do we got? Colin McDonald, 57. If you're still rocking with him, that's okay. That might have gotten to your best 18 this week, especially with guys like Karmas, Butler, Stevens, and that scoring poorly this week. Might have got in your best 18. Sam Butler only 38. He looked good. He looked like he was around the ball. Like, he just didn't get sort of fill up the stats, but I didn't expect him to score big. I expected about a 40. So he was just there because I think he's going to play next week as well, and he'll play it to his buy. And he was the only rookie in his round 14 buy. So yeah, I'm not too fussed with him. Reece McInnes, so he was a late in today. So people would have been happy he came in, but then he did his shoulder. So he looks like he's probably going to be out for a while. So he got a 33, so I don't think he would have been your top 18 scorers. So unfortunately, he'll probably be out for the foreseeable future and probably for the rest of the season, from what it sounds like. Fremantle, Brisbane, the final game. So Andrew Brayshaw, 131. So that was his first score over 120. When was his last score of 120? So he's not going to go upward. I mean, he might be exactly 900K. He's going to be a good target coming off his buy. He's got Hawthorn, which is great, but I would rather get your round 12 players in this week. But if you're going to target anyone from the round 14 buy, I think he's the guy, but I'd be targeting round 12 players. So that's his first 120 plus score, 115 plus score, since round 8. But he's just got that ceiling. He's so good. So what was his game time today? Hang on, 83%. So it's back over the 80s again, which is good to see. But he just scores well every week anyway. So he's definitely going to be a top 8 mid. So he's a target post buy. Daniel Rich, if you've got him, responded from his poor 37 last week with a 125. He looked good. So if you had him, you'd be very happy with that. Very, very happy with that. Jared Lyons, 112. He's been at 80 to 110, 120 guy. So he's a bit up and down. So if you have him, you'll be happy with that. Caleb Sarong, 104. Got the job done again. Well, not again, but he got 60 last week. So good response from him. Lockie Neal, sort of Freo, very, very hard to score on. I thought he was going to get tagged. So 104 was okay. At least he got to 104. He could have been tagged and got an 80 or a 90. So 104 is okay. He just keeps getting it done every week, and he's just very, very good to watch. Dane Zorko, now Warney sent out a good rocket. He said that Zorko essentially has been the worst upgrade that he's ever had. And yeah, he responded. He was only on like 22 at half time. Obviously, he was off for a fair portion of the second quarter. with I think, split his webbing or something in his hand, but he responded and he got nearly 70 points in the second half, 69 points in the second half, 91, respectable score. I don't know if he's going to be a top 6 defender. I don't see him being consistent enough for that. So, but just keep an eye on that. Zach Bailey played well with 4 goals to only get an 87. So he's not a fantasy option yet. Maybe in a few years' time, hopefully when he plays more midfield, we'll just see what happens with him in the future. But good for draft at least. Will Brody, 82. So just sort of solid enough again. Only the 1 mark, but he's just solid. He's a luxury trade after his bye. You could even trade him at his buy if you've got no rookies on your field. You can always move into around 13 premium. So that's something you could consider there. Kadeem Coleman got a 61. So that's okay. You probably want a bit more from that. His break-even was I think his break-even was close to that as well. So he's not making any more money. You're probably going to hold him for at least another week. So his break-even was 53. So you hold him for 1 more week and then you move him on in his buy. Sean Darcy, only 45. So I was the one saying I don't trust his body, but I didn't expect him to get a 45 actually playing like a full game, essentially. That's really bad. So his centre bounces. So he had 21. Obviously, Meek being in the team obviously was always going to lower his ceiling, but I certainly didn't expect a 45 from him. So yeah, not great from him. I just don't see him being a top 2 ruck. Simple as that. And that's pretty much it from that game. Yep. So there you go. So that's all the 6 games. We actually got through that pretty bit quicker. So there we go. So I'll get into your questions anyway as well. Actually, what I'll do for the questions, I'll get into round 6 trade targets. So the targets that I'm looking at off their bye. So obviously we have Carlton, Essendon, Giants, Port Adelaide, Richmond, and St Kilda coming off their bye. So we'll go in defence first in terms of the targets I'm looking at. So number 1 target for me in defence is Sam Doherty. I'm looking at him. He's the most expensive, but I think he's going to be the number 1 defender for the year. He's averaging 105.8. He just is solid as a rock every week. He's got a couple of good matchups, Essendon and Richmond, in back-to-back weeks. So, yeah, you definitely can pay up for him. He's just, very good option. Jaden Short is a bit cheaper than that. So he's another decent option coming off his bye. He looks like he's going to be a top 6 defender. So I wouldn't mind bringing him in. Jack Sinclair's looks solid. Is he going to be a top 6 defender? I don't know. He's looked great the last 3 weeks, 110, 111, 133. So he's definitely an option you can consider. A bit expensive, and I'd probably rather shorten Doherty. But if you've got those 2, Sinclair's a pretty good alternative. George Shield, if you don't have him, jump on him. He's, again, solid as a rock, averaging 103. Probably wouldn't look at Dan Houston. He's too inconsistent. I'd prefer those other 4 that I just mentioned there. I wouldn't bring Perryman in because I don't know what his role is going to be with Taranto, likely to be back in. So I'd wait for him. Lockie Whitfield, I've still held him. So hopefully he'll respond well. They've got North this week, but I'd wait for a couple of weeks for him. But if you can't afford anyone else, I don't hate bringing him in without seeing him. I think he'll be solid enough. What's Dyson Heppel been doing lately? Because he's obviously quite cheap. No, he hasn't been consistent enough, so probably not an option there. Nick Vostone hasn't been consistent enough either. So that's probably it in terms of coming off their bye. In terms of rookies, obviously, the main 2 rookies in defence is Jacob Ware at 256K. If he holds his spot, obviously Haynes and Whitfield coming back, he might not. But if he does, great option. Break even -8. He'll be a popular trade-in target if he holds his spot. And then the guy that probably a lot of people are going to be bringing in this week is Sam Durden. Where's he? There he is, 195K defender for Carlton. With Wiedering now being out, McGovern's still out, McDonald's out for the rest of the year. Sam Durden, they're going to have to bring in straight away. So 195K is not going to score amazing, but he's a rookie that's going to play and a great trade-in target. He's probably going to be the most popular traded-in player potentially this week because I think he'll play, whereas Jacob Ware, I'm not exactly sure. So moving on to the midfielders. So if you want to pay up, Darcy Parish has looked great this year, 908K. I personally wouldn't. I think he is the sort of guy you could trade in, you get you 60, but he's looked great all year, 146, 119 in his last 2, and he's gone over 119 3 of his last 4 games. So he's looked very, very good. Carlton St Kilda is next to a bit of a difficult matchups there, but 908K is expensive. I'd probably look at other options. Josh Kelly, I would rather over him. He's looked very good playing as a full-time mid. His last 5, 134, 89, 134, 124, 120. So 4 scores in his last 5 over 120 has been very good. He's looked great. 908K is expensive, but I think you can look at bringing him in if you're looking to pay up for someone. Sam Walsh has been solid last 3 weeks, 110, 113, 120. You could potentially look at him. He's 875. He's a bit cheaper. I would probably prefer to go someone else because I just don't see him scoring consistent 120s like guys like Laird, Brayshaw, Mills, Neil, guys like that will score because Walsh is playing. He might get. He's starting forward a lot and playing as that fourth midfield, so he could potentially get forward status. So something to watch. But yeah, I'd prefer other options. I wouldn't look at Brad Crouch an option. I know he's been okay, but I wouldn't look at him. Ollie Wines is a solid option to bring in, 809K. I know he only got the 86 against Essendon, but he got a 103, 128 before that. Plays Richmond in his first game back, should be solid there. I think he's an underpriced option to bring in. Probably the biggest target I'm looking at is Zach Merritt. So he's down at 790K. If you take away that 51, he's only got 2. So he's played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's played 8 games. So 1 score under 90, which is a 50. He just played terrible that game. I don't know what happened. I think he got that big knock early in the game and he just didn't sort of look right after that. But he got the 290s coming back from his ankle. This buy would have done the world of good. I think he's right for the picking. I think he can average 105, 110 from here. A bit like Mitchell. Luxury trade in a few weeks' time to a bigger preem if you want. But I think he's a very good pick. 790K is very, very cheap for a guy that can average 110 plus from here. So I really like him as an option. Tim Taranto, I'll speak about him actually in the when I speak at the forwards. That's probably it in terms of midfielders. Like if we got any rookies that are going to play, Mitch Owens, obviously big option. I brought him in this week just gone, so he is 266. So break even of -8. So I don't see him being. I see him playing. So he's going to be again him, Sam Durden, Jacob Ware are going to be 3 really popular picks this week. That's sort of why I did go Owens this week because I thought if Ware does get named, I can get Ware and Durden both in. So that's what I'm probably going to look at doing. Will Hayes could get a game for Carlton, 271K, obviously former Bulldog. So if he gets a game, potentially you could look at him. I don't see Cooper Hamilton getting a game, but if he did, I wouldn't bring him in. But hopefully if you've got him, he gets a game. So that's probably it from the rookies. Maybe Tyler Sonsi gets a game as well for Richmond there. In terms of rucks, the only ruck really of note is probably Braden Pruce if he can hold his get back in the team or not. 683K. I wouldn't bring him in, but hopefully if you still got him like myself, hopefully we can have him back scoring for us. Nan Curse is probably the only ruck if you were looking at any sort of ruck. But then again, I wouldn't even bring him in. He's been solid, but there's better rucks, and I would just rather wait a week and rucks to speak of there, like a Teakle or who's Teakle for? Port. So Teakle won't play because he's Port. I thought he was. What I think was Carlton. Yeah, I don't see. Yeah, there's not going to be no rucks that come in for us. So yeah, nothing there. And then hopefully Sam Hayes comes back into the team as well. Hopefully stays in the team off his bye. And then forward. So the most expensive, Tim Taranto. So I wouldn't bring him in. I'd wait a little bit for Tim Taranto. I'd wait to see what his exact role is. He's still going to drop a bit. His break even's 118, but hopefully as an owner myself, I've held him through him missing. Hopefully he's just back in the team and hopefully he just scores over 100 because I haven't owned him for scoring 100 yet. So hopefully he'll be back. Stephen Canelio's a solid option to bring in. Again, I'd probably like to see what his role will be with Taranto and that back, but 704K is solid. He's got back-to-back hundreds, 120, 108. He's got North Melbourne, Collingwood and Hawthorn in his next 4 games. So he's got Bulldogs in there as well. But 3 of his next 4 are very, very good matchups. So he should be good. I wouldn't consider Gresham. He hasn't been scoring high enough. I know he got the 110, 119 against North Melbourne, but it was North Melbourne, so I wouldn't look at him. Dusty Martin's an interesting option. He's really cheap at 659K. If you can't afford anyone over 700, I don't mind Dusty. It's a name there. He'll score solidly enough, and you can always move him on in a few weeks' time if he's not getting it done. I wouldn't look at bringing Rosie in. I wouldn't look at bringing Butters in. Nick Martin hopefully will be back as well. Well, he will be back. Again, I wouldn't look at bringing him in. And in terms of rookies, we got any forward rookies that'll get named potentially? So Jesse Motlop's 280k. If you have got other options, we don't get any other options named. Motlop might be some we have to consider a bit expensive. We might have to. And I don't see any of these guys here getting a game. So Tex Wanganeen, if he plays, if there's nothing else, he obviously isn't a big scorer at all, but if there's nothing else, might have to. But I expect guys like Sam Durden, Jacob Ware, Mitch Owens, those guys to get named. But if those guys didn't get named for some reason, then I guess that could be something you could look at. That's probably it for the options. So I don't think Lockout has not lifted yet. So yeah. So let's get into your questions anyway. And then we'll probably call it a night there. So what do we got? I covered that one. Jason's question I did. I did Moon Boys about Josh Kelly. So Shannon Barron says trade targets for Smith. So it just depends really, because it depends how much he goes down, because obviously he's priced at 903, 63, breaking 115. He's probably going to go down 40k. Actually, who scored a 60 odd the week before? So a guy like Dacos got a 52, and his break even was like a 90, and he went down about 22k, right? So I'm predicting 35k, 40k is going to go down, I would say. Who else have we got here that had a poor game? Actually, Isaac Heaney was 51, and he had a break even of 111 or something as well. So this would be a pretty good estimate. So Heaney went down 36k last week. So yeah, somewhere around 30 to 35k. So he's actually still going to be 865, 870. So you're still going to be able to do something with him. So in terms of targets, I would be just, as I said, I'd just be looking at Prems coming off of the round 12 bye. I wouldn't look at any round 14 players, because obviously we want to be, the aim through the buys to bring players off their bye. So guys like, if you want to pay up, Josh Kelly, I don't mind paying up for him. If you want to pay for someone around the price, I really love Sam Doherty at the same, essentially going to be about the same price. That's probably the move I'll look at doing. Potentially Zach Merritt's the play if you want to make money. That'll probably net you 70k, and Zach Merritt will be pretty solid from here. So I like that move. Also, Paddy Crick's the other one didn't mention coming off his bye, but I probably wouldn't look at bringing him in. Ollie Wines, if you want to bring him in, he's cheap. If you want to go even further, even a guy like Whitfield, I don't hate that move, bringing him off his bye. I'd probably prefer to wait and see what he does, but I don't hate that move. So they're probably the guys I'd look at. If you really are hot, if you're hot on Walsh, then I guess Walsh is the other guy you could probably consider as well. But yeah, Merritt and Doherty and probably Josh Kelly are probably the three guys I'm looking at personally for Bailey Smith. So that's probably what I'd do, Shannon. So Tim held Nick Martin. So yeah, I would have held Nick Martin if you had other issues. So he'll be back this week and hopefully score well for you. Coach Judd Martin's a primo. Yeah, he's been certainly scoring like that. That's for sure. What in terms of forwards, the sixth highest averaging forward is averaging. What are they averaging? Let's have a look. Average per round. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Bont's the sixth averaging 4. He's averaging 96.8. And what Nick Martin is averaging 86.6. So it's actually not that far off. And it's not even that far off guys like Will Brodie, Stephen Caniglio, Luke Parr's 95 as well. So not that far off. So yeah, he's been very, very good this year. Him and Nick Dacos have been very, very good. Barnes, is Darcy a must trade? Surely can't have a primo getting 40s and 50s. Only 150k to Gawn, so might swap them, as Gawn is a huge anti-pod. I do agree with that. I think Gawn you need, but I wouldn't be moving Sean Darcy on until he's bye, unless you've got too many round 14 plays you're going to be moving on. And if you've got enough for this round, then I guess it's a play. But in the ruck, if you're moving him on, yeah, I don't mind. You could move. But the only thing is, I wouldn't move to Gawn now because Gawn's got his bye next week. I'd move Darcy to Gawn either after their bye, or I would move Darcy on next week to a guy like a Tim English coming off their bye. That's probably what I would do. I think you bring Gawn in, he's then going to be on his bye. Unless you've got hardly any players round 14, then I guess you could do it. I don't mind it. Getting Gawn for Darcy is not bad, but it's a bit of a sideways trade, and you'd probably rather upgrade elsewhere. I know he only got a 45 today, but he'll be better than that. Simon Stacks, 1935 this week, but maybe that is before bad scores are moved. 18 is best 18. No, so if it says you scored 1935 on the app, that's what you scored because they it goes from the last game, then it will take away the scores. So, for example, if you've had 18 play, like myself, and I had Lockie Neal and Will Brodie playing, then because I had 20 this week. So if you have your best 18 there, it takes away. It doesn't take away a score until Neil. So, for example, my last two scorers were Buku Khamis 34 and Sam Butler with 38, right? So, once Neil and Will Brodie got over 38 and 34, that's when they started adding. So it would already be added to your score there, Simon. Max Matthews, Rich did really well. Can't believe the score after last week. Yeah, he got tagged. So that's that. I didn't realize he got tagged, but you would have been pretty happy with that. I traded in Sean Darcy, another failed trade as well, says Max. So yeah, unfortunately, yeah, Darcy should have done a lot better, but he did share the role and yeah, unfortunately with him. Turkish 110, can you rank Merritt, Wines and Walsh? So I think Merritt's clearly number one. He's the cheapest out of the three. I think he can average the most out of the three. He's averaged 115 before. He's still got that midfield role. So I know that he only had like 9 CBAs against Sydney, in round 9, was it? So round 9 against Sydney when he got the 50, he only had 6 centre bounces, right? And he got the 51. So then he responded. He got essentially 100 against he got 100 against Richmond. So what did he do? So he got 33 touches, 4 marks on the 2 tackles. He only played the 8 centre bounces. And then it was last week. It was back to a full mid role again. I do think that he will play just pure midfield again. I don't see him only getting like 9 centre bounces. He's one of their best midfielders, if not their best midfielder. So he's back to 12 CBAs against Port, but in that game there was only 19. So he still he was the third most for Eston midfielders. Perkins went to the most, Parrish next, then Merritt. So I think he's still he could be similar to Tom Mitchell, but I think he's still very underpriced for what he does. So I'd go him 1. Then Walsh or Wines. I'd probably still go Wines 2, Walsh 3. I think Walsh being 875 puts me off a little bit. If Walsh was the same price, I'd probably go Walsh over Wines, but Wines being cheaper, I'd probably go Wines over. So I go Merritt 1, Wines 2, Walsh 3 in that order. Jared, 18-16, had 19 green dots. So not bad, I suppose. Yeah, that was very good score for 19 19 green dots. I had 20 and I got 1774. So I was essentially par, or par was probably 1800. Anything over 1800, as I said, was a good score this week. Yeah, Billy says, surely Merritt, he's the cheapest. Yeah, I do agree with that. Jason Beck, Dacos only played Hawthorn. Don't get too excited. Yeah, no, we're not getting too excited, Jason. It's just the fact that he sort of hadn't scored great over the last few weeks. He got a 109 in the wet. He had a lot of disposals off half back. They wanted to get the ball in his hands. And his team he's playing this week, Melbourne, give up a lot of points to defenders. So he'll be good this week. His break-in will be low again. We're all going to hold until his round 40 buy, and we'll all probably move him on his round 40 buy unless we have all forced trades. So, but yeah, he should score solid enough against Melbourne as well. So that'll be a good game for him. Jared, yeah, but he will go up now and might get some cash generation again. Yeah, 100%. But we're probably only going to have the cash generation for a week, Jared. We're probably going to move him on. But yeah, it's still good. At least he's going to be hopefully around 600K when we move him on, and not like 570 or 560 if he had a poor score this week. Because if he had a poor score this week, I would have moved him on this week. But maybe if with the Bailey Smith, maybe I wouldn't have. James English says, already have 8 mid-primos, but thinking of bringing in a 9th, knowing that in round 14 I can get rid of Simpkin to a forward primo. Is this dumb? No, it's not. It's definitely not. It is, especially with the fact that if you are getting rid of Simpkin in round 14 and you can bring in a forward or a defender, because the buys don't matter. So as long as you've got, though, you can play him on field, I think it's fine. So if you're looking at a guy, James, like a Merritt, for example, which I'm probably assuming that's probably a guy you'd be looking at because he's cheap. And yeah, because what you've got, because I will read out your midfield because I know that people can see your team. But like Mills, Neal, Brayshaw, Tuke, McRae, Petrarca, Josh Kelly, Simpkin. That's an insane midfield. But yeah, 100%, because you'll be moving on Simpkin, who's round 14 by anyway, because he just hasn't been getting it done. So yeah, 100% if you're looking at if it is a Wines or if it is a Merritt or a Walsh or someone, yeah, 100% you can do that. It's not dumb at all. Simon Stacks, keep De Koning or Greg Clark through the buys. So if you can only keep one, I'd be keeping. Okay, so because no, Greg Clark is more expensive. I'd be keeping De Koning out of the two because I think De Koning's job security is a lot better. Greg Clark, we just don't know. With Dom Sheed and Elliot Yeo being back, he could be dropped. I wouldn't drop him. I think he's a good player, but they could drop him. So in terms of job security, I think De Koning could be a good bench guy that could cover you if there's any COVID or illness or stuff happens. So yeah, I'd definitely keep De Koning over Greg Clark, and I'd trade Greg Clark. And you can get into a midfield as well. So you get into a bed midfielder, he's going to be more expensive, and his job security's not as good as De Koning, so that's why I'd get rid of him. Billy says +3 gutsy captain Gawn. Yes, very very good captain choice. I half thought about putting Gawn VC and then going Tom Mitchell captain, but I thought I'll go Dunkley just in case. But I think I've got to just back in who I think will score better, and if they do, then great. If they don't, then I just go with who I thought. But I did think that Gawn was going to go big, not 149 big, but I knew he's going to have a good game because Ladham's good matchup. They lost last week. I was expecting a response. He did respond. Obviously, they just didn't get the job done in terms of winning. So. Hang on. Sorry. And then Billy, then -3, Baslenka. Smith, but not fussed with Smith's suspension as it will let me get in Laird on top of my other planned trades for the headbutt. If Laird had his bye this week, it would have been an instant trade for me. I wouldn't have even thought about it. I wouldn't have cared if it stuffed my team. I just would have got him. But the fact that Laird's on bye, I probably would get another premium in. But it sucks that Smith got suspended because obviously I held him last week, obviously, which a lot of people did. But it's more the fact that he got a 60. If he got like 100, it would have been okay. But the fact he is a double whammy. You get the double whammy from a poor score that a lot of people had. I could have brought in Laird, Mills, Brayshaw, Took, who all scored 120s this week. And it cost me 60 points by going Bailey Smith. It cost me 6 points this week by getting Bailey Smith over those guys, plus the big score that all those guys got last week as well. So it's a double whammy, and I'm not too happy with that. But I guess if you brought him in this week, then yeah, I don't know. I'm still disappointed in that. Tim Ashworth says, should I trade Nick Martin this week? I wouldn't because he's coming off his bye. I'd hold him now. You held him this week, so I'd hold him. So you're going to have guys like De Koning and McCartan and Greg Clark and Robbie McComb and all these guys coming off their bye going on to their bye this week. So I would look to move those guys on first, and then you can keep Nick Martin, and you can trade Nick Martin post bye. Porter Dennis says Bailey Smith to Max Gawn. I don't mind it. I certainly think you need Gawn at some point in the year, but as I said at the start before, I would be only focusing on bringing in round 12 players this round because they're going to be playing this upcoming week and then round 14, and they're going to play every game, hopefully for the rest of the year, as long as they don't get injured. But whereas if you bring Max Gawn in, you bring him in this week and then he's on bye next week. So, yeah, I wouldn't be looking at a ruck personally. Whatever rucks you've got there, that's fine. R2, and that isn't a big necessarily fix up until after buys because it's only your best 22. So if you can put a Darcy Cameron there, or if you've got a Sam Hayes there, then that's just fine until post-buy, and then you can look at upgrading that after. I'd be going Bailey Smith too. As I mentioned, I'd be going to one of those round 12 guys. So Doherty, Josh Kelly, Zach Merritt, Ollie Wines, Sam Walsh, guys like that, Shane Short coming off their bye. That's all. Lockie Whitfield and Taranto, I don't hate that idea either. I'd wait for those two, but I don't hate if you can't get up to anyone else. Riley Thompson, elite second half from Zorko, 100%. A lot of people getting very worried that was going to be a 50 again, but it was good that he was able to get to a 91. Again, I don't know if I see him being a top 6 defender, but it's good to see him get to a good score. Stephen Young, hi, mate. My trade plan's looking for your thoughts. Hayes down to Durden. I'm assuming that's Sam Durden and that's Sam Hayes. Yep, I'll tick that off. And then Witherden up to Doherty and Noah Anderson to Josh Kelly with no cash left, or would you go Merritt instead of Kelly? I would personally prefer Merritt instead of Kelly just because of the saving of money. So you're going to save nearly 120K, and that's a big difference. And realistically, Merritt can get a 120 on his day. Josh can get a 120. let's say Josh Kelly gets 115s and Zach Merritt gets 105s. It's only 10 points difference, and you're saving 120K, which will get you a lot better player. Like, because obviously the guys that we're going to be looking off their bye, Callum Mills, Rory Laird, guys like that in your midfield, if you want to part for those big guys, you're going to have to take a bit of a haircut this week to get those guys. Whereas if you get a Josh Kelly in this week, you're not going to be able to get those big premiums coming off their bye. So I'd go Merritt there. In terms of with your trade, so I don't mind Hayes down to Durden, especially if you don't need Hayes this week. And if you can get a player playing another line, I don't mind that. Witherden to Doherty, I don't know if I would do that personally because that's a bit of a sideways move there. Because you're going Witherden's going to be a top 10 defender. So going him Doherty, I'd do that later in the season in a few weeks' time. I wouldn't do that this week. I'd look at if you can go. What you could do, Stephen, is if you go Hayes down to Durden, then you got another rookie down to either a Mitch Owens or a Jacob Ware or something if they get named. Then you go. And you could go Anderson out, but then again, if you've got rookies on your field, get rid of them first. But if you don't, you can get rid of Anderson. But I'd almost go rid of Anderson for Merritt, and then you could have probably a couple $100K in the bank ready to attack next week. So that's probably what I would do there, Stephen. But at the end of the day, if you do want to go Witherden to Doherty, then Doherty's still going to be the number one defender for the season. So it is still a good move, and Josh Kelly's going to be good as well. So I don't mind those moves, but that if you were looking for alternatives, that's what I'd be doing. Shannon Barron, how do emergencies work during the buys? I have a fullback 6 and 2 emergencies. So if you've got somehow, Shannon, if you can swap, like if you've got a Crisp, a Whitfield, a Short, a Dawson or whoever, if you've got defenders in other lines to swap into your defense, do that. But if not, the way it works is essentially like any other round. If you've got a defender that's on their bye and you can emergency them. For example, I've got Max Gawn, Braden Bruce, and Sam Hayes, right? So Sam Hayes playing the first game, which is perfect. I'm going to emergency him. If he gets a big score, I'll just put Tim English on the field then. I'll take that score and I'll bench Bruce, right? And that might lead to me trading Bruce. If Sam Hayes gets a 50 or a 60, which is probably likely, I'll keep him on the bench as emergency, and that'll be that. But if you want to take, emergency is still going to be exactly the same as emergencies in the season, but you have to have just a non-playing player or a player on their bye not playing to take that score. AA says, would you trade out Matt Rao? I still would. Trade him out. He's on his bye this week. It's sort of, in a way, he gave you 100. You can thank him for that. But the weeks before, he was still very poor after that. So, like, before that, his scores, I still think since he got that hit in round 1, he just hasn't looked right since then. So he's averaging 74 for the year. He's gone 46, 87, 66, 66, 79, 88, 58, 75, 36, 66, and 107. So that's his first score over 90 since round 1. So, yeah, 100% you can trade him out. He's going to go up a bit for you as well, which is okay. It's going to be like 555, 560. So you're going to be able to get into someone solid enough if you've got the money there. But, yeah, I'd definitely be moving him on there. So lockout hasn't lifted, which is a bit surprising. I'm live, still an hour after lockout. So I was hoping it would lift before we finish. But that will be it for tonight, guys. So thank you very much for joining me on the Sunday night again. So my early trade thoughts. So I'm depending on, I've got 149K in the bank. So this is obviously depending on cash-wise. Ideal trades, I would love to go De Koning down to Sam Durden and then go Bailey Smith to Doherty and then Greg Clark up to Zach Merritt. I'm not likely to be able to afford doing that. So I might even go, what I'll probably do now is I'll probably go Greg Clark out for Jacob Ware, Sam De Koning out for Sam Durden, and then probably Bailey Smith I'll probably go Doherty over Merritt just because I know Doherty's going to be a top 6 defender. And then post in their round 14 bye, I'll be bringing in Laird, and that'll guarantee me bringing Laird, so I have enough money. And Mills as well. I'd rather have a lot more money to even potentially get me both Mills and Laird off their bye instead of bringing in Merritt, for example, and then sort of scraping towards that. But getting Greg Clark up to someone is a priority still because He's a rookie that's still on my field technically, so that's what I'll be doing. So that's my early trade thoughts. Is Zorko to Hill a bit of a sideways trade? I wouldn't do it this week, that's for sure. I'd wait for Zorko's buy before I'd look at doing something like that. It is a bit of a sideways trade. If you've got guys like Dacos, DeConing, McCartan on your field, or if you've got another rookie on your field, I'd look to get rid of those guys before Zorko. Zorko is a potential trade option, so a trade out option at his buy. But yeah, it is a bit of a sideways move. So I probably wouldn't look at doing that this week. I'd look at getting those rookies in and then upgrading those rookies still on your field up. Once those rookies off your field are gone, then go nuts. You can get rid of these underperforming premiums once all these rookies are off field. But I've still got one of like a DeConing or a Greg Clark or someone like that on field. So I'd be looking at moving those guys off first before that. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, make sure you leave a like on the video. We've got 16 likes so far. So if you can hit the thumbs up button, very much appreciated. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, we're at 442 subscribers. I'm only 8 subscribers away from 450. Actually, make that 7. So someone did subscribe. So thank you very much for that, whoever that was. I didn't get a notification for who that was. So apologies if I can't shout you out there. But we're only 7 away. So if the 7 people can subscribe, that'd be fantastic. Appreciate all the support. I'll be back. So on Wednesday at this stage, barring any, as long as I'm all good and free, I'll be doing a Twitter space. I'll be making that a regular thing. So follow me on Twitter at Balio Gang. Links in the description below. Follow me there. I'll do my live Twitter space Wednesday night. It's about 7 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time Australian Central Standard Time. 7:30 for Eastern Standard Time. So I'll be doing that. And then I'll be back Friday afternoon, for the weekend forecast as usual. But thanks, guys. Hope you guys had a good weekend and good luck and have a good rest of your week. And I'll see you guys on Wednesday night and then Friday afternoon. I'm out. Cheers.